Here. Thank you for joining me today at Holistic World Travel. This is Beta from Beta Lisboa, and Beta specializes in myofascial yin yoga and dynamic spiral release. And I'm so looking forward to talking to you. So thank you for joining me. And yes, please tell us a little bit more about the work that you do.
Thank you, Mel, for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. So basically, I've been working with yoga since in a very young age, about 25 years. I started doing Ashtanga yoga. And throughout those years, I had a chance to be with different teachers, with different traditions in meditation yoga, and tried a lot of different methods of yoga styles. And as a trauma therapist and a myofascial release therapist, I started to incorporate trauma release and myofascial release inside my yoga classes. And that's how Myofascial yoga was born. Dynamic spiral came with the combination of the myofascial release, but also Qigong, and some other techniques such as gyrotonics and gyrokinesis, which is all work with spiral lines and circular movement, spiral movement, which activates and releases the very deep inside our spine. So inside the spine is where we have the most old held traumas. Yeah. And that's why it becomes a trauma release technique as well.
Okay, so dynamic spiral, can you explain to me a little bit more about dynamic spiral release? I'm just trying to understand how it works too.
Yes, basically dynamic spiral born from Myofascial yoga, from Qigong practice, and just me find a way of working the fascia that is not linear. So most of the yoga practices, the dynamic yoga practices, they are very linear, the way they move the body, the way they move the arms and the legs and the postures, right? So in the dynamic spiral, we work inside the joints a lot. So it's one of the primordial part of the system is the release and the activation of the energy and the fluids inside the joints. Inside our joints, there is a lot of fascia tissue, yeah, and it's very important. So a lot of yoga, they don't go deep inside our joints in a dynamic way, yeah. And also a part of the work with the joints, where in the class we start the class warming up, opening up, juicing. That's what I call juicing our joints, yeah, to be able to activate more hyaluronic acid and synovial fluids inside the joints.
Okay, okay.
A part of that, we also bring a lot of circular movement, which in the myofascial world, we have spiral lines. So lines in our bodies, fascial lines on the body that crosses from one side to the other side of the body. And in order to work with those lines, you do need to bring more spiral movements. What are the spiral movements? A movement that comes from the ground, yeah? So it's very important to have very strong grounding. That's why I don't know if you notice, a big part of my work is grounding people. So it's teaching people how to really ground the feet on the floor, to have more stability, so the spiral movement flows more easily and the way it should flow. Everything in life moves in spiral. It's just as at some point in time that we stopped the moving spiral, we stopped perceive the spiral movement around us and inside us. So this is what a dynamic spiral yoga is doing. It's recalling that movement that is so natural inside the way we So when in the moment we born in spiral. Our heart, it beats and moves in spirals, yeah. And me doing my own practice, what I noticed after being so linear, when I start allowing myself to be more free, to listen more to the core of my body wants to move more circular, more in spiral lines. Does it make sense?
Yes, 100% makes sense. Grounding, as you said, is really important for this, because you really need to be grounded when you're releasing lots of different things, right?
Yes, grounding is, I would say, is a very important part of the work I'm offering, because if you work with trauma, you need two things. There is primordial, it's resource and grounding. So you don't want to take anyone to that space of it's normally trauma can be a very dark tunnel, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, for me to take someone to that dark tunnel, for them, they need first to trust me. They need to trust themselves. They need to trust that they have someone holding their hands. Because we regress. We go back to our childhood. We go back to where we got those traumatic imprints, which can be yesterday. Nah? So we resource our students, our clients, and as well, we ground them, because the grounded them, teaching them how to ground themselves on a daily basis, no matter which kind of energy is moving through the system, which dynamic spiral, any trauma release technique will move a lot of energy through this body. So upwards, which means we need to bring also the energy back to be safe enough to hold space for any release to happen.
So my next question is, you started with Ashtanga yoga, which is quite like a strength and power yoga, and you've kind of come to a really softer side. How did that happen? How did that journey take place for you?
Okay, so for about 10 to 12 years, I was proper Astangi, super disciplined, and I'm very grateful for the Astanga in my life, because it gave me, really as a yogi, it gave me a lot of discipline. It's still nowadays, I wake up and practice is the first thing you do, right? So it gave this willpower and discipline and determination. And yeah, which is very important for us Westerns, who we didn't grow up doing yoga, we didn't grow up with discipline to stay for. So that I for about 12 years, until I went to India, fun enough, to Mysore. And don't know what happened. I came, so I practiced it there. I had my time, but and then to stay in India, and that is 15 years ago, and I never stopped coming back. So in India, I went to a Vipassana center, and things they start changing, and then I went to a Zen Buddhist center, and I started doing all other kinds of yoga, mainly Hatha yoga, until one day I met a yin yoga teacher in Goa when I was teaching a retreat center in Goa. That's about 12 years ago. And when he introduced me to yin yoga, was like the opposite of Ashtanga, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt so much okay in the feeling and the felt sense, and Ashtanga was not giving to me anymore. The yin yoga, I felt, oh wow, that's it. I need to practice more that, because I also needed to a more feminine, a more feeling practice, where I could be more in touch with my emotions. And as an Ashtanga somehow was feeding my pattern, my masculine, my driving, I was very driven, very achiever person, which is good when you don't have much. it's always find the balance, right?
Yeah.
If but normally we are drawn to what we already have a lot, so we want to more of this because it's an area that we know. So anyway, with the yin yoga, hatha yoga, and a lot of meditation in my life, so my practice changed, and was until 5 years ago when I started to practice qigong that I could put a new system. And yeah, sometimes like this morning, I feel like I need some willpower. I need to connect to my solar plexus. Let's go do some sun salutations and do primary series. So I still go back to practice when it's necessary. I think it's find the balance in on everything. What I need today. It's like for me, my practice is what I need this morning. What kind of practice I need today.
You mentioned that you work with Ashtanga and you moved into Yin Yoga, but how did you come to start working and helping people with trauma?
I very early in life I started looking for trauma therapies to breath work. I also come from sannyasi family. Sannyasi is the people from Osho work.
Okay.
Yeah, I was doing already a lot of breathing, a lot of the dynamic meditation, catharsis from Osho, which are very much cathartic trauma release therapy. So from the same people I started receiving, which is a trauma release breath work, since I'm very young.
You
And one day,
receiving what? Sorry, because you were cutting out.
Rebirth.
Rebirth. Okay.
Exactly. Was the first breath work technique that I was in touch receiving sessions quite in a young age. And when fascia, I lived in States, so I started myofascial release therapy, and I went to that school. So as the work with fascia got deep and deep, I noticed that people was releasing a lot of imprints, traumas, was having major emotional release on the table during the therapy sessions. And then was when I decided to take a breathwork training. So I took a biodynamic breathwork training. After that, I started incorporate bringing more trauma release into my yoga classes, because that was happening anyway. If I wanted or not, working with fascia, people was crying. I was in this festival in Sweden a few years ago, and I had about 200 people in my class, and all these Vikings, this big man, so in tears, like melting down in the class. And I was like, okay, I gotta honor that, right?
Yeah.
And I felt that only the catharsis, only the breath work was not enough. And then was when I decided to start somatic experience to treat people and also traumas that was recurrent in childhood, what we call developmental trauma. Yeah.
Wow. So you've done not only a lot of practice, but you've also done a lot of these healing modalities yourself. You've been on both sides of the of the practice, so you understand what it feels like to release. It helps you as well to support people through that process.
Definitely, I do believe that we get experience what we are offering. The spiritual market became like this big supermarket. Everyone does so much, and there is so many people doing a lot of therapies and teachings and all sort of stuff. The planet needs that right now. This is the way we're going to elevate the energy in the planet. So bring it on. Right? But I also do believe that what I'm sharing in this moment in my life is what I received, and what I can share is the sharing of my experiences, the sharing of my gifts. So I had to go through this whole journey in order to know what comes through me to offer. Yeah.
That's a really beautiful way of looking at it. So I'd love to know a little bit more about your programs, because I know you have a few different programs. You do teacher trainings and you do retreats as well, helping people work through different issues. So I'd love to know a little bit more.
Yeah. So in this moment, I'm offering a 500-hour dynamic spiral in fascial yoga program, which people can take in different modules of 50 hours, or just come and meet us for a 5 weeks journey, which I strongly recommend, because when you leave your work, you leave your country, and you come for 5 weeks, there is a transformation happening there. Yeah, and in this program we have not only yoga, the yin fascial yoga and the dynamic spiral, but we also bring breath work, trauma release breath work. We have trauma lectures. We have some of the concepts of somatic experience, qigong. It's ceremonies. It's a quite full program, but all looking for the big understanding, the big picture on fascia, yoga, qigong, and trauma, right? It's a healing program through
Okay.
yoga. Yeah.
Is this for people to come and heal themselves, or is this for teachers to be able to then go out and share the practice?
This is a teacher's training registered by Yoga Alliance, but
I've lost you for a second.
it is a teacher's training, a Yoga Alliance registered teacher's training, but definitely I would say coming to our trainings, you're going to experience a lot what you're going to be able to share. So we teach a lot of lectures and things that will come from the mind you have to learn, but everything will be experiential. So I would say it's a self-healing and a transformation program, with the bonus of receiving a certificate and knowledge to share.
To share.
Right? Yeah, but you're going to experience, because and wisdom and comes from practice, comes from experience. So this is what we do offer in our trainings. People have to experience, go through the whole process in order to become a teacher, to share what they're going to teach. So this is one program. And the other program is a trauma healing training. And that is a 250-hour training. We have 4 meetings of 50 hours of 1 week throughout 2 years. And it brings in the wheel of consent. It brings developmental trauma. We bring concepts of how to ground it through qigong and 5 elements organ. But the training is based on breath work. So yes, in this moment we're doing that, and we are also offering couples retreat.
Beautiful.
We have a couples retreat in Brazil next March, and kids yoga training. It's a 100-hour yoga teachers training. Yeah, yoga kids teachers training is always run in Bali. Has been now the 12th year, and we bring to this training education and psychology and also trauma. In this training, we teach multiple intelligences, development stage of children, storytelling, trauma in childhood, and all the tools of yoga, all the other yoga tools for kids. So understanding kids' development stage, you understand how you can approach each age in an appropriate way. So this is what we do with this 100 hours training. It's done in 12 days in Bali.
Okay.
Find yourself a practice that it suits you. Nobody's the same. We are all different, and we all need different practice. So if we find our spirit, our connection to spirit, that is what is important. Connect to your body every day, even if it's just for 20 minutes. Make this as your main Practice, wake up and connect to yourself.
I will share all the links to all of your work so that people can find out more about you and what you do and ask you questions if they want to via your page. And yes, and again, thank you so much for finding the time from Brazil to connect with me. So much appreciated.
Pleasure. Namaste. Yeah.
Lovely to meet you. If